I call this story the mouse demon. And this actually happened a week and a half ago, June 2nd to be exact. And so it was early in the morning. And on that morning, I got up around 2:30 a.m. to pray. So this is something that I do regularly. God wakes me up early in the morning usually between 2 to 4 a.m. And I usually spend about an hour to an hour and a half praying every single day. It's just a calling that I have on my life. I'm a prayer warrior. I am an intercessor. And so God has called me to do this. And so it was not unusual at all for me to get up 2:30 a.m. and go out into the living room and start praying. But I did something very, very strange that morning that I never, ever do. And I'm not even sure why I did it. But around 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd been praying for 30 minutes. And for some reason, I decided to go back into the bedroom and see if I could lay down and go to sleep a little bit more. I never, ever do that. I usually stay up and I pray. So I did for some reason. I went into the bedroom, laid down, and I was laying there awake, kind of laying on my side with my eyes open, looking at the wall that is next to our bed. And as I'm doing that, I see something out of the very far corner of my eye. And it was like this little black shadowy thing, like about the size of a CD. And out of the corner of my eye, I see it kind of land on the floor. And I looked at it and I'm like, what is that? And so it's dark in there. It's, early in the morning. We do have a little night light. So there's a little light in there. But I'm trying to figure out, I'm peering at it, trying to figure out, what is this thing? Did I really see it move? And I was trying to figure out if it might just be like a knot in the wood. So our wood flooring here, let me show you what our wood flooring looks like. You can see it right there. So we have these oak planks, and they're very rough looking, very raw, natural wood. And so they have these dark, knots, like from the wood planks. And so I was thinking, well, is it just one of those wood knots? And so I'm just watching. I'm like, what in the world is that? And then as I'm watching it, then suddenly, without any warning whatsoever, this little black thing shot underneath the bed. I mean, just like it went as fast as if it were shot out of a gun, right? It didn't make any noise. And I'm watching it, and it just goes right under the bed. And so I'm like, whoa, what is that thing? And I could not figure out what in the world could possibly move as fast as I just saw that little black thing move as it shot underneath our bed. And so I'm just kind of in shock. I'm just sitting there, wondering what in the world, because at first I thought there's a possibility it was maybe a spider. Okay. And remember, it's CD size. Remember CDs? Okay. About like that, and completely circular. Okay. And so we do have tarantulas in southwest Missouri. I don't usually see tarantulas that big, but they have been known to be here. So that was my first thought. But once it shot under the bed, it didn't move like a spider. They have that creepy spider movement. It was not a spider. Absolutely not a spider. Maybe a mouse. Mice can move really fast, but this thing was a circle. So I had no idea what it was. So I'm laying there in bed. I'm afraid to move. I'm kind of freaking out because I'm like, okay, what is this thing? Is it going to come up on top of the bed? Is it dangerous? Can it bite me? What's going on? So I'm just kind of laying there, and I don't hear anything. There's no movement, no sound. And so I sit up and I'm looking around. There's nothing. Everything's totally silent. So then I kind of reach over and I turn on the light. And of course, my husband woke up when I turned on the light, and he's like, oh. And so I told him what happened. And so what I saw, and so he started banging on the bottom of the bed to see if we could, whatever it was, if we could scare it out. Nothing came out. And so then he actually gets up and he's like looking under the bed. He comes over to the other side. There's nothing under there. Nothing. And so it's 3 a.m. So he needs to go back to sleep. So I said, okay, just go back to sleep. And I turned out the light. And then I very quickly just got out of the bedroom and I closed the door and I went back to the living room where I continued praying. So I was still pretty shaken up by this thing because I just had no idea what this thing could be. What is it? So I'm just praying. And as I'm sitting out there praying, I hear this voice, unmistakably a demon's voice. And it says this. It says, well, it doesn't take much to scare you, does it? I guess you're not so tough after all. That's what I heard that voice say very, very clearly. And so then I'm like, aha. For some reason, it had not ever occurred to me that this could possibly be a little bitty demon. But it absolutely was, because it was a demon that was talking to me. And once I realized that it was a demon, I'm like, oh, well, it's just a demon. So I rebuked it and I sent it away through the power of the blood of Jesus, and it had to leave. And so it was gone. No problem. No problem at all. But I'm sitting there and I'm praying, because it has been a very, very long time since I have seen an actual physical manifestation of a demon. And that's what this was. Now, I do see demons sometimes. I've shared some of these stories on my podcast, but usually I am seeing, it's like kind of like a vision, like I'm seeing in the spiritual realm, right? They're not physically manifesting. It takes a lot of power for a demon to physically manifest. Now, normally to do anything in the physical realm, they need a host. That's why they possess people. That's why they can possess animals. That's why the demons, do you know the story in Mark 5, the legion of demons that was in that man from Gadarenes, and when Jesus told the demons to leave him, they begged to go into the pigs because they need a host. Okay, demons can't do anything usually without a host. Now, there are times when demons can physically manifest, but it takes a lot of power. They can't normally do that. So I was really, really surprised. And so I'm kind of taking a mental inventory, spiritual inventory, and I'm praying. I'm like, God, do I have some unconfessed sin in my life? Is there something? Have I done something to open a doorway to give a demon the power to manifest in my house? Because this house is covered with the blood of Jesus and it's full of angels. So I'm praying. And God, he replied and he told me that there is somebody right now, and they are trying to put a curse on you. And okay, so that made sense. And so if you watch my podcast, you know that often there are these people, these trolls that attack me a lot. And I have had people try to cancel me and do, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy, I know, but it happens. It's a demonic thing. And so there are lots of people out there that are dabbling in witchcraft. There are people that are learning how to do these curses and, joining forces with the enemy. And so it was something like that. And so I believe that God called me to come back into the bedroom that night so that I could see it, so that I could rebuke it and I could make it leave. And that's exactly what I did. So anyway, so interesting. And then the next day, so here's another little interesting kind of an end to this story. So the next day, we have 4 cats in the house, and they were acting kind of weird. And there was something under the bed. They were like, obviously they're trying to get to something under the bed. So I'm like, Craig, come back in here. Maybe it was a spider after all. So he comes in and he pulls everything out from under the bed. We got all these stuff stored under there. And he found these little baby mice, newborn mice. Okay. And don't let that freak you out. We live out in the country. Our house is really clean, but when you live way out in the country, sometimes mice get in the house. So he uncovered the mice. The cats pounced on them and dispatched of the mice, and then they ate them. So don't freak out again. We are country people. This is the way things happen in the country. So that's one reason to have cats in your house. So they took care of the mice. And so, I was thinking about it, and could that possibly what I had seen the other night, could it have been a pregnant mouse? And I don't think so. I really don't think so. It was a circle. Now, even a mouse that's pregnant is not going to be a circle. So I really do think it was a physical manifestation of a demon. I don't know if the mice were somehow connected to it, but if they were, I think it's very appropriate that my cats killed them and ate them. So I hope that doesn't freak you out too much, that story. So anyway, I want to tell you this. I expect demonic attacks sometimes. And I will tell you this, any of us Christians who are walking with God and are being used by God, especially if we are working in the realms of demonic deliverance, healings, things that, ministries that God works through me to do, you are going to be a target of the enemy. It's not something to be afraid of. We should not be, as Christians, we should not be afraid of demons. Because as long as you don't have any unconfessed sin in your life and you are seeking God and you are surrendered and submitting to God, then you have authority over demons and over even Satan himself through the blood of Jesus Christ. And so we do not need to be afraid of demons. And I tell you this, I'm much less afraid of demons. I'm not really afraid of demons at all. But I am afraid of big old tarantula spiders. So I would much rather a demon be under my bed than a big tarantula spider. Okay, so that is that story.